Hey there, homies. This is Sarah. This is not an actual episode, but we were contacted by Bob Dale's family. If you remember, he was one of the three I covered in the Missing in Michigan episode, and then I did a follow-up episode more into his story after having interviewed his wife. Bob Dale's been missing for 27 years from the Sault Ste. Marie area, and the family members are really trying to kickstart a, basically a whole new investigation. Just start from scratch, see if they missed anything jogged in anyone's memories, just trying to get some answers. And they contacted us to see if we could release the full interview I did with Kristi, just so if someone hears a detail or, if they'd been at that wedding reception or the bar after or whatnot, they'd be like, oh, that's right. I remember that happening. And then, anything that can help is wonderful. And when they asked that, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was recording so I could focus on asking the questions and not having to write everything down. So I figured if it could help at all, then certainly we would release this. I had my equipment set up, ready to record if she gave me the okay. I had gone over our intent and she gave me the okay. So if you're interested, take a listen. It will be more useful for the family members and those over in the Sault Ste. Marie area. But here is that interview.
Whenever you're ready, let's get,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I could go in circles like I have all my life, and if I had a quarter for every, I don't know, I'd be rich.
Yeah, you're good. I just had to hit a button. So yeah, tell me about Bob, like in high school and growing up and stuff.
We met, I want to say, my junior year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was real cute, athletic type guy. Always wanted a car and that kind of stuff. And we fell in love, and we got married right out of high school. Mm-hmm. I graduated on August 20th. I married. My mom made my whole wedding party and my wedding dress by hand.
Awesome.
Beautiful. And then we headed out to San Diego, California.
Okay.
Oh, that last didn't even know how to read a map. I decorated my stuffed animals. So we didn't have children for 3 years, and he was in the Navy for 4 years. Then he decided to get out, and then he also traveled after that, fixing boats for the Navy, going to Hawaii, doing stuff like that, and then we just decided for having our first baby to come back to Michigan, because it's way easier.
Yeah.
Easier living style,
Yeah, and family close by and stuff.
I loved it out in San Diego, but it was so expensive. We were out there 8 years. Mm. So, yeah, we ended up back in Sault Ste. Marie. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? He worked for a bit. He was having a rough time trying to keep a job and kind of stuff. So we transferred to Grand Haven, Michigan, where I'm at right now. Okay. And Bob, he came first. He went and worked for a leather company then at this point. And still, years there. Maybe, I don't know, 89 to just before. I'm not really sure. Anywhere between the 90s, we were here probably 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. He just was having a rough time trying to decide what he wanted to do with those weeks, so we just kept moving around. So then we went back to Sault Ste. Marie after we had gone from California to here. Oh, we were also in Ishpeming for a little bit. I'm not sure that is. It's way up north. So I just followed him wherever he went. I was in love. We were in 3 children, and we just what to do to see what worked for the future. And then we ended up back in Sault Michigan again after being here. Yeah. And that's where, I wasn't really sure if either of us really wanted it, but it happened. Mm. Okay. So I guess that's the gist of it. Yeah. So before Bob went missing, he was working for the tribe in Escanaba, having some rough times at that point. I'm not sure also again what to do with his life for, 3 kids and such.
Right. So. Yeah, I read on, now I don't remember if I read it. No, maybe it was Scott that told me that he had, like, not necessarily enemies, because I asked about enemies, and he just said that there was, like, maybe one coworker that they didn't get along great, but it wasn't, like, a lead that panned out of any sort.
No, a lot of this goes back to day one where this started, which, okay, so let me go to that party we were at. We had a wedding party for his boss that he was working as the tribe. He was a white boy. He's not Indian. I am.
Oh, you are? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm tribe. French, Indian, Italian, German. He was Irish, German, every alphabet. So we went to the party and we had a good time. We went and we took a little road trip and, enjoyed each other's company. We made out in the car, so we come back to the reception and just progressively, everybody drinking still, or, all day long kind of thing. Right. And just before everybody wanted to leave the party and go downtown, we started Bob, and he was in the truck. So, whatever, I had a van. Okay. And in the driver's seat. So, we all worked on him, tried to get him up, and just angry because he was so drunk and whatever, but got him over finally to the passenger seat, and then I decided, I'm going to drive, I guess, at that point, that's what we did. I didn't really know, because I wasn't a big drinker. I raised my children, and I watched, Bob and him do it more than myself. Okay. Anyways, every time we'd go out, I'd be the driver, and Bob would end up passing out in the passenger seat. Just was something that happened. A lot of times I'd leave him outside. Like when we lived in Grand Haven, he did it a few times, and I had babysitters that live across the street, so I wouldn't have to drive them home. And she's done that a couple times, just passes out. He wasn't a good drinker. Mm-hmm. So, at that point, I guess. Anyways, leaving the party, like I had told the first, which nobody knows anything about, his what he wrote down, anything. I spent a lot of time with this man. But anyways, as we left the party, I had gone down the road a bit and had blacked out from one point to the downtown point. Okay. Where everybody was supposed to be, because the party's like, oh, let's all go downtown. I'm like, oh, cool. And I know Bob didn't want to go downtown. He wanted to go home at that time because obviously he was really drunk. Mm-hmm. So, and at that point, I blacked out from going downtown from where I was, obviously. Mm-hmm. Once I got downtown, I remembered a few things, dancing with some friends and being odd about it. I just wasn't sure where Bob was. Yeah. I just kept telling people, I think, I lost my husband kind of thing. I said like that at one point, just not, just drunk, oblivious. Yeah. And it was with a psychic at this point, too, 2 weeks after he was missing. Okay. We traveled the roads with the first detective for 8 hours, trying to see visions of things that, if I could remember from one to another, and I know as alcoholism, people say that if you black out, there's just no ever getting that back as far as your brain, you never know. I don't know, but anyways, that point is where. So anyways, we traveled the streets, and, and I told him if we did get in a fight, he probably got out near the party, because we lived around the other side of town at the time, where he could have just gotten out and walked home. Oh. Or he could simply have been in the woods. He could have, just got lost. It just was so, it's still unknown. I still am scared of it all. Yeah. Or he might be, sad. And so anyways, I make it downtown, and when the psychic was with me, she remembered when we went into this bar that I had downtown, or that I had thought I'd, disconnected with Bob at that point. Okay. Because I thought I left him in the car, and he passed out. That was what I figured, because it always happened. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I didn't remember the part, but so, anyways, the psychic remembers me doing a shot, another one, and then turn around, and she says I was really confused, but yet I was still happy, and turned around and talked to friends, and to me, that was just really kind of cool and interesting that she only remembers the part that I remember. Her visions were what I remember. this was nothing I told her.
Yeah.
It was, so to that point, I just was like, she gave me peace somewhat. We searched up by the party in Culverts at that point, me and the detective and my psychic and her friend. We walked the streets, out by the gravel pits out there where I felt like maybe he had gotten out, if we argued. And he said, I'm getting out of the car. Mm-hmm. That thing. So that's where people are saying, she changed her story. Well, really, I did not change my story. Nobody knows the story, nor do I. So I was trying to go with my heart and my head and how I felt and what I thought, and in the meantime, I've got them following me, the detectives following me everywhere, and I had 3 young children. I just had to do what I had to do. I had to go back to work. I had no money. We had nothing.
Yeah.
We were in love with 3 children. So,
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to, if it was just yourself, that would still obviously be awful, but to have to face the day for your children, too, that would be just...
Yeah, and they didn't understand. They were so young, so I never discussed it with them, I know they heard about it at school. Like, Devin was only 5th grade, just my middle boy, mm-hmm. And they came to search the house we were living in, me and Bob, and they had dogs with them. Yeah. Well, they thought in the basement of these old homes there was ashes underneath the stairs from old burning stoves or whatever, uh-huh. And these people never took it out of this old home. Uh-huh. So we just only went down to the basement, Michigan basement, to do laundry. So anyways, they brought the dogs down there. They sniffed to see if maybe I'd buried them under the ashes, horrifying as it is.
Right.
And at that point, after we moved out of that home, Devin had been friends with the young boy that was living in that home after we did, because it was a rental home.
Okay.
And he goes, we can't go in the basement because there's a dead man down there. And Devin was like, that's my dad. Yeah. And they had also said something like the wife did it or something, and he goes, and that's my mom, and she didn't do it. This poor child's in 5th grade.
Right.
Well, I tried to explain the part to him, and like I said, the Dales are grieving also. This is mom and dad. Mm-hmm. I wasn't allowed at their house. I was abandoned by the family point because, I just believe they were grieving, and I had to let them grieve, in the beginning, I felt like he had run away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. We had 3 young kids, and he only wanted the 2, and he had a rough past year before he went missing. He had some rough times, that I felt that, hurt him a lot in some ways. Where I was going with this.
Oh, I do the same thing all the time. Supporting the kids, and it was a rough year. And obviously you don't have to tell me things that you're not comfortable with, but we're like, you guys fighting a lot? You can still be in love and be fighting. So, I didn't know if there was, just tension.
Yeah, it was he was traveling and he was drinking a lot. Mm. And it was hard on him, I'm sure. And I had found out throughout all this that he had an affair up in Escanaba, Michigan, where he was working. Mm. Which was nothing but an alcohol thing, because I went up there myself to look for this lady, because that was crucial evidence to me.
For sure.
Me and my friend took a trip and went up there, and it was horrifying, but I was like, I just want to know if you know where he's at, or, and she goes, no, we just watch football, yada, from that, and I'd had enough. I'm like, I'm done, I don't want to hear no more, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like he was unhappy in a lot of ways. Like, he really didn't have a lot of friends at that time, because he was traveling, and had 3 young children, and was involved in his drinking. They call him Whiskey. I had no idea his nickname was Whiskey. Yeah. I'm like, I know he would dabble now and again, but I didn't know those kinds of things, you just... You accept somebody for who they are, and I just, it is what it was, and I just knew he wasn't happy.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking, okay, he ran away from me, and then my mother-in-law was like, he ran away from me because you work too much. I go, well, my husband couldn't keep a job at the time. He didn't know what he wanted to do, so I had to work. I was a waitress.
Yeah.
I was working nights, and it was really hard for him to be home with the kids at night because they were so young. And, I'm sure all that was a lot of stress on him. They lived up in Sault Ste. Marie, a real small town all their life, in this trailer, very small trailer. And the 4 boys were in the back area where they shared rooms. So, it wasn't like, sure they were close knit, but there was still a lot of trauma somewhere down the road that happened, because he wasn't happy with his family when he went missing.
Okay.
I don't want to bear. No, this is my problem. I don't want to.
I do understand. Yeah, I understand that. You can only tell what.
All the years of these people looking for him, they told me it was an affair over a woman that somebody killed because of this, and I had 2 polygraphs. They had, after 2 weeks after he's missing, they were following me. And this was a new detective after the first one that I had spent a lot of time with. He was like a town thinker, the first detective. So I went to the chief of police and said, I'm hearing that he's downtown talking about me, and just please say something to him. And after that, a year or so later, he retired. These other detectives, they're searching under my van, looking around, and I'm like, okay, you're following me. Now you're looking under my van. I go, do you think I did this? And they were like, well, we don't know. Do you want to go have a polygraph? I'm like, let's do it. Not knowing I had to drive 3 hours in the back seat of a car to have a polygraph, so I did. And I passed that, of course, and wanted to find stuff for my children. It was rough. And 2 years later, after that, they did another private detective from kid retired, and he came and also, gave his opinion through rumors and stories and that, and had another polygraph for that. Years later, and of course, he passed out again. But I don't know if that's a lot.
Yeah, it would wear on you. Yeah, in your sister's email, she had mentioned that, and she wasn't talking shit or anything either. She said we got our facts wrong, and I was like, okay, well then, what are they if we got them wrong? Because we can only go with what we had, And she said he was a drinker, and that he maybe wasn't the nicest when he was drunk, and she said that you would pass 2 polys and stuff, in which, of course, I didn't find any sort of that information anywhere in different articles and things, but...
Right. Because I never talked, and Kathy and Scott have been involved in this since day one, and God bless them. It's wonderful, but these past few years with Facebook has just killed me. And the amount of people that are responding and trying to blame me and do stuff that they don't even know. Half these people weren't even born.
Right.
So the only reason I had to block myself from that page is I was starting to go, oh, well, you're a dummy, and I got in trouble from Facebook for saying you need to be slapped with a wet noodle. I mean, they're accusing me of killing somebody, and I get in trouble for saying you need to be slapped with a wet noodle. So
The Facebook rules on things are a bit ridiculous sometimes. I've made a couple joking comments to someone on my own Facebook where they had reacted to it, and then I got in Facebook jail for 3 days. I'm like, really? They're my friend, and I'm kidding, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I didn't realize it because I had already blocked it, because it's just, and it's not that with Kathy and Scott, and the family, I still touch base with Steve right now, but I had to block Kathy and Scott because they're so involved in it, and I trusted them and believed in them, and just the past few years, and then they turn again on me, and so I just don't know where this is all going, and that's what's really the hardest part, And I finally met the last detective, which she's wonderful. She touched base with me and made me feel like I was a human being, some weirdo on the street. So
yeah.
Like I said, I don't know where it's going and what they're doing.
And I mean, again, you can say whatever, as much as you want or not answer or whatever. I'm just asking, like, what, like, after these years of pondering and everything, like, what do you think happened to him?
I think he got killed somehow. I think that, somebody had something to do with this. Somebody knows something. Mm-hmm. And if not, then he's out there in the woods somewhere, passed out up against a tree. I'll tell you, there was a story 10 years after Bob was missing about this young boy, and I thought, of course, they find any remains near Sault Ste. Marie, they go right for Bob, and they need to get the dental records. And come to find out, this young boy had been 10 minutes from his home and like 20 feet from the road up against a tree, and he was dead, and they found him, and they just thought he was a bad teenager. So they never report him as a missing person and such all those years, and that's 10 years later.
Goodness.
And that's why, when they said they were going to search the area where, they should have searched 25 years ago. They should have just searched one end of town, because the rumors were that he made it downtown. I mean, there was people that danced and said that they saw me and Bob together. There's bartenders, and they all backed out of it. So I don't know what to believe anymore. I almost felt like the first detective had something to do with it, because he was so sketchy about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, why do you think they would have backed out, or if they didn't maybe want it, not to, that sounds weird, but if they, quote, didn't want to get involved or something, but that's the opposite of what you should do.
All right, and then, and it's there was just so many hands on this, was frightening, and I stayed in that town for 7 years. I started my own business, started working with one lady, first to sell sandwiches. Well, after that, I was able to go on my own and just sell sandwiches on the road. And everywhere I went, they felt watched. I was just watching and waiting for somebody to say something, know something. I've had psychics, mediums contact me. I have a psychic report from the first lady that was with me 2 weeks after his missing. Yeah. And that was really, really, really cool. Like I said, I have another one that contacted me not just like maybe 8 years ago or more, and I was in Traverse City, and when I got back from Traverse City, I was all by myself. I took a little vacation. And when I got back, she goes, I hope you don't mind and find me weird, but I contacted your husband. And she was from Traverse City, which was really weird, because I had just come from there. Right. And she has YouTube videos, because she used to find missing people for the Detroit Police Department also, like the first psychic did. Oh. They've actually found people that were missing years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And brought these people to the spot, and there he was, that kind of thing. Okay. So this medium went right into, as they call, the heavens above, and talked to Bob and a group of people around him. I mean, there's 3 of them that have to trying to go in for me. She claimed he was mad and didn't want no more, and so she had to get out of it because it was hurting her too. Huh. I wasn't the only person that she had been trying to contact. There was others that were, that would contact her for missing people. Right. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And I have 3 of them that she talked to them, and they respond, and she's got it typed up with their, trying to hear their words, and he said that, he called me Kristi, and, that's when she started her conversation with him. And I don't know if I can share that with you. I know that I have it saved somewhere, but just to hear it is interesting. And I mean, I know there's scammers out there, but that kind of stuff is something I believe is true. It can be true, so. It is. They tried to hypnotize me first psychic, but I couldn't go deep enough to help her. And anyway, I knew I was kind of floating. I was probably just feeling aggressive at that point. Yeah. Questions for me? Thank you. Yeah. He was wearing the blue polo and the dress pants. The yellow polo. Yeah. And he was a good dresser. He was always a cutie pie. Yeah. He had like this ring on his pinky finger. It had a blue stone in it. Okay. And then his wedding ring, the left hand, the right hand, he had pinky. Okay. That's another thing. If they had, out there remains after 26 years, we don't know what they could find. But there was some kind of remains. That ring has got to still be out there because fast rings are pretty expensive.
Right. Yeah, they were built to last.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Which, I mean, obviously it would, on one hand, would be heartbreaking to find it, but would also give you closure if it was found with some remains or,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, all we've been going through is rumors, and which I'm sure is normal in this thing. A lot of cases, they follow our rumors.
Yeah.
Like I said, the last I heard, he had somebody killed him, fight over a woman. I don't even really know. I don't know what Kathy's got going on anymore. And same as the detective, he just told me just to wait, like he's doing, 26 years later, 6 detectives,
Yeah.
He don't know what to think himself.
Well, and you said you kind of blacked out, and not judging, because I know all kinds of people that have made mistakes in the past or now still, that driving when they shouldn't, but like that you blacked out in part of that drive to Sue, which I was corrected, and I apologize to the entire universe that I called it Salt, but I do know it's Sue. Because I didn't know that.
I feel like the universe.
Yes, because not being from there, and I read it, and I was like, well, that the only pronunciation that my brain came up with was salt, because it looked like salt. I was like, all right.
Don't bother me. I just heard. I was like,
I was like, oops, my bad.
Sometimes they so Sue.
Which that I could get. I would be like, oh, that's probably Sue, but I didn't think twice. But like maybe if, like you said, maybe he did be like, nah, let me out of the car, and he would get out. Like, it just, I mean, everything about it sucks, but if he had, and maybe somebody didn't see him and accidentally hit him, then that still means that they took the steps to cover it up.
And that's the crazy thing. That's it, I don't know. That's what we don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It had to take the time. I mean, between I blacked out to get downtown was only 10, 15 minutes, and I'm not going to kill my husband and find somewhere to put him.
Right.
For sake sake.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the man. I loved him more than anything, and I can imagine, I've argued with my boys at times, and when I get angry, I do kind of black out a little bit, even sober. It's kind of like you just
right, yeah, you see red.
Yeah. And like I said, at that time, I knew there was something wrong with him, but I didn't know what, because he was so mad all the time. He lost his grandpa and a dog, and he's working out of town, and then come to find out he had an affair. So he had all that on his mind. We don't. And then somebody told me that he got kicked in the head at the wedding party when he was in the shed. So I thought, oh, maybe he's out there with amnesia. That kind of stuff I thought about, and I don't know if they didn't think about it just because they were focusing on me. But I mean, that to me, that stuff that's crazy. I mean, my brain works like a detective. They just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched people. I look at them, and there was a lot of money laundering going on at the time too with the tribe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like I said, he was the only white boy working for the tribe, and he was a cute little fucker. So who's to say that he had an affair with somebody in the tribe, or he knew something that was going on with the tribe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't think that he was involved in any roots of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we couldn't afford it.
True.
And I would know if his money was, going somewhere else. I would know because I was the one that paid the bills.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, I just felt in my heart that could have been possible also.
Yeah. Or since he was a, quote, a kind of outsider, since he was a white man, like even if he accidentally stumbled upon something.
Right. Well, he always would say, you get all mad because they'd be playing cards, not doing anything, and you'd get mad because they weren't doing their job. And I think him trying to be the boss, he wasn't one of those guys. they tell people what to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
Management's difficult.
Oh,
my middle boy, Devin's one of those, right? He has 14 guys below him doing steel roofing and big buildings, and it's really unique because Bob was a radio man on the ship that had to go way to the top of the towers, and so it kind of it's cool how you see your children in like the instruction that Bob did. They're all following that.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it's really fun. Yeah. For them to have children is it's hard on them right now. They all have relationships, but they're not having good relationships.
Yeah.
The oldest boy and the middle boy both have children.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
The youngest, it's hurt. Even though he was only 9 months old, it was hardest on him. I think not growing up with a man because I always did this on my own. I didn't want to get anybody involved just because to me it wouldn't have been fair to my children or a man involved in any way. It was like, oh, I have a goofy husband, and just for them to try and tell my children what to do, I don't think those boys would have listened to anybody at that point. They'd want to beat them up or whatever.
Right.
Now they're worried about being alone. I'm like, I don't care. Just peace, you guys. I got my best friend. We live together, and it's all good.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I can't imagine trying to deal with any of that. All of it. That's just a lot.
I just finally this year started getting my help together, seeing psychologists and such. And the first lady I saw, she was a really, really nice, kind lady, and she just really didn't. She goes, I think you're just fine. She goes, I don't know. I've never dealt with this before because every time I go see her, I had just heard from the Facebook page or whatever. So she was there through the year of me dealing with this, and she made me realize that I am okay. No, I'm okay. I don't need to. There's nothing I can do for them anymore than just pray.
Yeah.
Pray a lot. And I always had. If I would have known that prayer years ago, we didn't have a candle vigil for Bob. But they didn't have anything for, missing people back then. I don't know if they really knew about it or understood it.
Yeah.
But, to me, that was kind of heart-wrenching. The community got to come together.
Yeah, you definitely hear that more, or a lot now anyway, with...
Right. And that's possibly, we don't know if it would have helped or not, but who knows, we could have prayed so hard that we would have found answers back then. But, I'll just keep praying,
Yeah, or, at least if people were gathered together, they could have talked about what, of course, then rumors fly too, but, could have talked about things or kept their memories fresh or...
Right. Yes, for sure. It was just all anger in the beginning just because nobody knew. So I couldn't go to Christmas. I couldn't do things Easter that we always did, go to the cabin, And kids didn't really understand that. Like I said again, I didn't tell them until they were older, and they're like, well, you didn't want to go. I'm like, well, no, they didn't want me there, I was tired of lying to them and making me feel like I was the bad guy, trying to help these boys through this. So it's been rough.
I'm just looking at my notes, trying to think if there was something else.
I don't know what this consists of. Like, are you going back on podcast with us, or?
I was just gonna mention maybe if not new news because it's not new news, but just kind of amend what was said since you have different information than the things, because a lot of the stuff online at least was kind of the same thing over and over again, except for that one article from I think August or whatnot.
With the cat, the caterpillar.
Oh, the bobcat thing. Yeah, that too. There was that. Somebody woke somebody up or something. Closer
than they were. That's what I was thinking when I saw it. My friends, everybody of course, will text me. Like, I didn't know about podcast. My friends send it to me, like, high school friends. So I didn't know any of this was coming. It's just my own fault, but it's okay, And I'm so glad that, Steffi, my sister Steffi, reached out and was able to, you also, or like, it's you or whatever.
Yeah, and I wasn't. We're still new to this. Today, actually, our 8th episode came out, so I had reached out to the Facebook page because it just at least was a public entity, and I didn't considered trying to reach out to individuals, but I was like, that's pretty harsh, like, invasion of you personally, so I didn't want to like message kids or you or brothers.
Right.
I didn't know who was running. I just figured, hey, if you could give me some just background info on Bob, just to, talk about him and his life. And so I wasn't ever trying to not message you. So just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do understand. And then, like I said, they're in their own investigation, and that's what they have to do. And that's where it's at. And, it has to be private at some point. It just does. This public is doing nothing but hurting it, I think. The Facebook page, of course. But, like, again, we want people to talk. We want somebody to come forth. Like, on that, okay, so my son Robert, my oldest boy, said to me in his 20s, he goes, Mom, you gotta let this go, because if they find out who did this, there's gonna be another child without a father.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, Robert, that's really cool. He's really angry, and he's 36 now. He's growing up fast and, taking care of his children, which he never could do with.
Yeah.
But it was interesting for him to have that part of, all right, we don't want to get anybody else in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's let this go. It's never going to happen.
I mean,
it isn't, and it's okay. It's really okay.
Right.
And I appreciate everything you're doing, no matter what has been said or anything. I understand. It's okay. I'm just glad that we were able to talk a little bit.
Yeah. And I know, like, there's tensions, whatever, between you guys, but, Scott and Kathy said the same thing. They at least want to be able to bring him home. Like, that's the priority. Like, even if there's nothing else, like, finding him, not necessarily criminal justice of any sort, just being able to have that part closed.
The closure, right, for sure.
And obviously for all of you. And it's so terrible that his parents couldn't be here to hopefully see an answer.
All right, yeah. Yeah, they're up to us, for sure.
Yeah.
Real needs.
Yeah.
It's very hard on both of them. I can't imagine losing a child, as well as losing his. I'm sure it's totally different losing a child. Think about it every day. My boys, the rebels they are, I worry about them even in their 30s,
Well, that's what parents do, is they worry about their kids.
Yep, never ends.
I still get told when I am even driving home from work and it's snowy, Mom's like, you drive safe. I'm like, yes, Mother, I know. Like, I'll text you when I get home. It's fine.
I actually did text my son. He thinks he's a true Uber in a Suburban. I go, careful, the roads are slippery. Oh, yeah, I just did that to make you.
Yeah, and I didn't try to look too much into any of those comments and rumors and things because people can say anything they want, basically, especially on Facebook, but
when they have, yes.
Yeah, but the tip about maybe the Bobcat thing, or somebody said something about how, like, you sold Bob's truck immediately or whatever, and then you did reply, and you're like, well, it didn't even run, or I don't remember the thing of it, because it was probably a month ago I read it.
Yeah, old blue truck. It barely started. I mean, he couldn't even go to work. He would always be mad at the damn thing. I was 2 weeks after, or maybe, a little later now, because we had to move from where we were at, and we were moving to the reservation. Somehow his boss came to my house and moved me onto the reservation without any permission. He was head of housing. That also made me weirded out. I took it because I knew I couldn't pay $1,000 a month rent. Yeah. I went to the reservation. I was able to rent by my income.
Oh,
so
that's
allowed
nice.
to not have to pay rent for quite a while, Bob never wanted to move to the res. He just wasn't something he ever wanted to do, so we never utilized the tribe when he was there. But the truck, yeah, it would break down every time he got in it. And so I just felt like I didn't know what else to do but just to get rid of it. I mean, it was an old man that wanted it, and they'd be like, maybe $100 for it, and it was just like, it was just a bad piece. I know he hated it. He hated it. And the only reason I sold it, was no other reason. And I had to move. I had to get rid of, they wanted me to get rid of my camper that he had. He was, actually, just before he was missing, a fight over this camper with his best friend. And they weren't friends at the time because they fought over this silly camper they bought together. Oh. So I had to, they didn't want me to move anything, no boat, no nothing to this reservation because I was right on the corner. So I had to get rid of some of Bob's toys or his bad truck. Yeah. In that sense, that's where that came from. Well, and whoever heard that had been come from a family member or whatever, because there was no reason for anybody to know that. Nobody. Yeah. None. I don't know how that got out to people in the public that, like, again, this girl, they were never born at the time. Yeah. I'm like, okay, who's this girl? That's what I started doing. I started investigating these people that were taking. Well, maybe they know something. I don't know that the Dales didn't know anything. They've never been investigated, which I don't want to feel. I don't feel that way, but I still think that way sometimes. They only looked at me. It was like no other family members. Yeah, it's horrifying. And then, not recently, they said that my parents knew something. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm 82 years old. Now, if somebody told my dad something, or my mom, first of all, my mom thinks he ran away. And my dad, he just, they're so simple life that they're just, no. And she's like, this was Kathy Dale, well, did you call them to see if they knew something? I go, yeah, they're not contacting my parents about things. Yeah. There's no reason to. I mean, I don't know where any of that came from. And, I started, again, texting people, why are you blaming my parents? And some girl talked, and she said she knew, and they know. I'm like, this is this vicious web that they weave, and it needs to just go away. It really does. Yeah. And I'm just going to backtrack. Like you said, you had the 3 boys to support by yourself now, so even $100 from selling the truck, that's $100. Like that's something to help feed them for. Yeah. We were day to day. We were living week to week, and and I don't even know if I was really working because Connor was only 9 months old, so I was barely working. He was the main breadwinner. Yeah. It's very sad. I have a picture of him just before he was missing, painting in our living room. We painted it green, and he put a big old heart in the middle of it. KD plus RD. Oh. Yeah, that kind of stuff, that's real. That's not. If I find that picture one day, I'll bring it about. Yeah. Well, again, I'm very sorry for you not knowing, all this time still what exactly happened. But hopefully sometime soon. I did see on the Facebook scrolling back that they had to cancel a search maybe in the fall because of bad weather or something. So maybe if they get one again to get one sometime here in the spring or something, maybe somebody will find something. Yeah, and that's an area where it's not where people hunt because it's residential and lots of woods out there. So it wasn't, it just wasn't an area with a lot of people walking. Yeah. And there was gravel pits there. I could send you, I don't know if you, again, believe in psychics, but the first report I have is on paper. Okay. I mean, if you want to see it, I can take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I do, like I said, I know there's some scammers in the world, so I'm not going to believe everybody's everything always. Nothing against yours. I'm just saying for my own self. But
you don't know me. You don't know that. That's what it is, and you're trying to help us out there. So.
But yeah, I believe that some of those things can be true. I have a weird intuition myself sometimes, and I'm like, why did I know that was gonna, like, literally, why did I know that was gonna happen? So it's interesting stuff too, like on a separate type of interesting.
Right. My youngest son believes that he sees visions himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's quite to me, he never explains what, but he just feels that he's that medicine man, and he's really neat.
Huh. Yeah,
he lost his trailer a couple years ago in a fire.
Oh.
And it was down the street from where I lived myself in a trailer park. And the only thing that survived was feathers that my son Devin, the middle boy, used to dance when Bob was missing. He was a big Indian tribal. He'd go to funerals and stay there for 4 days and let the fire burn. He was really young, but the only thing that survived were those feathers and a Bible and a picture of his dad. And just that alone was like, he was mad at me for, even saying that or just even pointing it out to him, but it was really freaking cool to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, again, thank you for taking your time. Oh gosh, you have like an appointment here any second, but thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, I do. I actually had to cancel it because there's somebody at work that had COVID, so I wasn't going to the hospital.
Oh.
Involved with COVID at any point. I'm like, no, I probably shouldn't go to the doctor when people I work with had COVID.
Yeah, maybe keep it at home. As much as that sucks, keep it at home. Keep it to yourself.
So your other friend that does this with you, is she a friend of yours, or you're just both investigators? I'm sorry.
We are friends. We actually were from neighboring town. Like, we went to high school in neighboring towns, but didn't even know each other then, because I personally didn't venture out of my own town much. I was not sheltered, but I did not party. I was school, cheerleading, dance team, and home. That was pretty much what I did. So when my ex-husband and I moved into an apartment here in town, she actually lived in the apartment straight across the hall from us, and we're like, oh, hey, you're Anamosa, I'm Monticello. That's so weird. We know some of the same people, and then have become friends now. So,
well, cool.
Yeah.
I was an athlete too. That's all I did through school. I did basketball, softball. I did everything. Swimming. I did it all right up till I got married. So, there was not, like, I'm like you. I did party now and again because Sioux, Michigan, that's what we did, but I didn't do it like, it's like, oh, maybe once every 2 weeks. Oh, boy, I'm going to get drunk with my friends. How stupid were we? But, I was like you. We kept busy, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Small town. Well, because it sounds like Sioux is a smallish town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many, granted, I know it was a whole different time, but how many did you graduate with, if you remember?
So maybe 700.
Oh, wow. Okay. I say, oh, wow, because I graduated with 83. So, like, that's big to me.
That's funny.
But still.
100 then, but yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Well, there's a little town in Brimley right outside of us that had great kindergarten up to 12th grade, and that's probably how many kids they had.
Oh, God.
And my brother-in-law, Pat, Steffi's husband, the one that contacted you, he doesn't even know how to read.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but he can tear apart a car and, he's very hard worker, but I just found that out in his late ages that he never knew how to read. That small school, he just went right through it.
Huh. That's wild how things... Yeah, that's wild.
I know how to read. That's weird, huh?
Yeah, that's...
Interesting.
I mean, clearly he's adapted, because he's gotten this far. I mean, that's awesome. If you do what you do, but that's wild.
Hello. Hello. Hi. H.I. Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Made it easy for me. Then I was having really bad anxiety before this.
Gotcha. Yeah, that obviously wasn't my intention either, so I apologize for that.
I did good. Shoveled about an hour.
And yeah, if you want to dig out that psychic thing and send me a
take a picture and send it to this phone. Your number right here.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to read it.
Tubes also, and then you can look it up, because if you can't get it from where I'm at, you can look Helmy up, because Helmy's done many of them. Like I said, she's the one. She's found many people, missing people, and she was amazing. Her children made her get out of it because there was some other person, not Bob's case, that was, kind of threatening her and such, so she could totally get out.
Gotcha. Yeah, self-preservation is a key thing, so.
She gave me peace for sure. I mean, Bob said he was home, and he was sorry, and, and he was watching his children. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Well, good.
All right, Sarah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You have
you have my number. Anything else?
Yes. All right. Well, you have a good day. Good rest of your day off.
Yes. We're gonna get some meatballs and some soup.
Ooh, soup. I was thinking that earlier too. So.
Soup. All
right. Thank you, Kristi.
Right, bye.
Bye.